Hello, gorgeous ladies of the Femme Fatale webinar. Thank you so much for wanting to be here and for wanting to watch this beautiful webinar. First thing, let's take a minute and breathe. If you're anything like me, there has been a lot on your plate today, and that's okay. What I want to talk to you about in this webinar is how we can thrive in all of our environments. How you can go from having a crazy, hectic business day and then still come home and drop into this mode that I call goddess mode. So I'm sitting here in this beautiful room. There's fish, a fish tank in front of me. I've got beautiful flowers and a little candle. And I feel calm. So in order for you to experience this in the best way you possibly can, just breathe. Just breathe. Whatever it was that drove you nuts today, let it go. Because what I want to give you today is a beautiful tool, and it works best when you receive it from a place of calm energy. So I have different programs. I have different energies. I have different things that I offer, but Femme Fatale is very unique. And it is very particular because the energy in this program is actually the underlying energy in all of my programs. This is the goddess mode. So I have two very clear intentions for this webinar. The first intention is I want you to have an incredible experience. I want you to be listening to this like, yes. I want you to feel like things click for you. You walk away from this webinar feeling like this was a really well invested hour or so that we're going to spend together. My second intention is that you walk away from this webinar understanding about the Femme Fatale program and getting some knowledge about the program and feeling into whether this is the next step for you in 2019, because we have a Femme Fatale program that is starting on the 24th of January, and I would love to have you if it's a good fit. So the first thing I want to do, because I know some of you may not know me yet, is just give you an insight, like a moment of understanding of who I am, so that this webinar all makes sense, and so that you understand who I am to be able to deliver this kind of information. And if you know me, you know that a lot of the times I'm all the time on Facebook, on my private group. I'm very transparent with my life and how I got here. A lot of my followers have been watching me from the beginning. So it's been such an interesting transition to watch people, or to have people watch me go from where I was to where I am. But I want to share this with you in case you have not seen me before. And also as a refresher if you're watching this and you've forgotten, because recently everything seems so fabulous, but it's not always been that way. So I am the oldest daughter. There are 3 kids in my family, my little sister, my brother, and I. And I have always been the one that took care of everybody else. And I think from a very young age, I just took on that role, not really knowing what it meant, but kind of embodying it as the big sister. And as my life kind of evolved, my parents went through some difficult times, and I took on an even greater role. I started my first business when I was 12 to help my parents out of a bankruptcy. So I've always had that wanting to help and being able to make anything happen if it were for the right reason. So 12, I helped my parents out of bankruptcy. When I turn about 18, they go through another one. And I go through some really difficult life moments because although I've given a lot, I don't really feel like it's appreciated on a daily basis, and I don't really know how to handle that. So I became really bitter and upset at my family. Even though I loved them and I would never have told them that, I just resented a lot, just wishing for more recognition and love that I wasn't getting. And it was quite awful. So my family and I started not getting along. And the family that I love now more than anything, there was a time where I did not even speak to my parents. I just was so mad. And I got to this place in my life where I had this belief that I had to take care of me and everybody else, and that no one would take care of me. And in that energy, I started attracting a whole bunch of people that were not good for me. friends that were not good for me, and also partners that were not good for me. But because I'd always been this person that goes and helps and provides such support, it almost felt second nature when the men I was attracting in my life needed from me more than they could give. And I got into really sticky situations hoping and wishing that I could help these men become the man I needed. But that never happened. And when it didn't, I then again felt bitter and upset. Because how could I have given so much of me, and I did everything that I could, and I gave everything, and it just didn't work, and it was just the most frustrating feeling to have given so much to a human being who didn't even care enough about me, seemingly, to give back. So relationships became a very treacherous thing for me. And my emotions were a very slippery path, because when I would not be in them and I was in a good headspace and I wasn't really in my feelings, I was fine. But the minute something happened that triggered my feelings, I lost my way. I would get into such a dark place around things, it was very hard to come back. I would hold grudges for days, weeks, months, years, grudges, like could not let go of that stuff, and just kept attracting men who were emotionally unavailable. And I was trying to save them for whatever reason, and I was doing the same thing with my friends, and it was just this reoccurring cycle of things that were not working. And everything would break down, and I would be so bitter that everything was breaking down, because in me, in my heart, my soul, I was doing the best that I could, and I was trying to be this great person, and everything's breaking down. So it left me feeling very resentful of the world and not in a good place. After 7 years of being with a boyfriend of mine that I really loved so much for all the wrong reasons. I loved him for like our best moments and the potentiality of the relationship, like what it could be if we were both perfect, which we were not. And I tolerated things I can't believe I tolerated. He cheated, he lied, I couldn't go. I couldn't leave. I could not leave because it would have meant failure. Failure for me. Failure that I wouldn't have helped him change. Failure that I had invested so much time for nothing. I couldn't let go because of how much time I had already invested. It felt like I had to fix it. And in trying to fix it, it got worse. And the more I tried to fix it, the further he got from me, and the more I struggled, until one day I actually broke the relationship off. And you'd hope that was like things got better from there, except they really didn't. After I broke off with him, he was actually the manager at the company I worked for. He fired me, and I ended up going bankrupt and living in my car and hating the world. I didn't feel like I could reach out to my family. I didn't feel like I had any friends to reach out to. He had basically been everything for me for 7 years. He was now the reason to my demise. So everything I knew crumbled, and I was left with a shell of who I used to be. Even though that wasn't great to begin with. I had no motivation. One thing about me is I've always been motivated to get back up, to do what it takes. I had zero motivation. I couldn't sell. I couldn't make money. I couldn't go out. I couldn't do anything. And next thing I knew, I was living in my car in the parking lot of a Canadian Tire. And I could not for the life of me understand how unfair life was and why on earth I was in that situation. I remember thinking to myself, like, I've done everything. I've helped my parents. I helped him. I gave to her. I was thinking of all the times I'd been there for friends who weren't there for me, and it blew my mind that I was sitting in this car alone. All it meant was that the world was unfair and that I was a victim. There was no other logical reason for this to happen. And I remember the worst part when I was sitting in my car and I actually grabbed my phone and Googled how to make your ex-boyfriend cry. Like, I was bitter, resentful. When I think of being that woman, it makes me a little ill inside. Luckily for me, I didn't actually find anything about how to make your ex-boyfriend cry, which says good things about humanity. What I did find instead was something that said, have the relationship you want. And I read those words, and inside of my car with nobody watching, I felt about this big. Like, even Google doesn't get me. Like, how to have the relationship you want. Why didn't I Google that? How to make your ex-boyfriend cry? Like, That's where I'm at in my life, How to Make Your Ex-Boyfriend Cry. And I felt so compelled to click on this thing. I started reading it, and I was like, this is just giving me all the feels. And I'm reading through this article, and what I'm reading is like, we women have way more power than we think we do. And we break a lot of things without knowing we're breaking a lot of things. And I had this feeling inside for the first time in my entire life. It was like radical self-responsibility. This thought, what if this was actually my fault too? And if it was, then I could fix it. If it's my fault, then I can actually fix it. And this feeling of empowerment took over me. I was like, I need this program. I had $0. I was living in the car. I was turning the heating off and on to try to warm my feet. I had no money for food. Like, I was down and out. My credit card had been refused everywhere. And I'm just like, I need this program. Like, I don't know what made me do it, but I put the digits of the credit card number in the little line on my phone, and the payment went through. And I listened to that program on replay in my ears nonstop, 24 hours a day. I listened to it nonstop. It blew my mind, because what I realized is that I was part of the problem. Like, how? I had done everything. I had forgiven his crazy behavior. I had only wanted the best for him. I had wanted him to be a better man. I had wanted us to be rich and happy and traveling. I wanted romance. How could it have been my fault? And it was right there in my ears. And I was like, how on earth have I never heard this information before? But it left a whole bunch of holes. You know the kinds of program you take and you're like, there's so much more to this. This is the tip of the iceberg. So I went on a mission to find out exactly what it is about men and women that makes it work and that makes it not work. Why are some relationships so easy and some so horrible? What is it about those women who seem to have all the guys fawning all over them, and others who are seemingly perfect that can't find a man? Why do some women get cheated on and some women never? Why do some women run after all the wrong men all the time, and other women have the lineup of the right men and none of them are quite good enough? Like, what creates that? What makes a man happy? How is it that after giving everything I thought I had, he still wasn't happy? What makes, and then other people say men are so simple. It's so simple to make a man happy. I was like, no, it's not. What was it? I needed to find out. And I actually made myself a promise in that moment that I was not going to get into another relationship until I understood men and women, really understood men and women, so that I could get into a relationship and I could be happy. So that I could be in a relationship and witness him being happy and not constantly fight about what's wrong. I didn't want that anymore. I never, if it meant never being in a relationship again, I did not want that anymore. I realized that my emotions were the driving force of everything. When I broke up with that guy, even though he was not the right one for me, my entire life crumbled. I was rushed into hospital with tachycardia. My heart was racing, 200 beats a minute. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. This was all self-inflicted. Like, I went down a rabbit hole of hell in this breakup because my feelings drove me. And I had no idea what to do about it. So I took this moment in my life where I could have done nothing at all. And instead, I changed who I am. And it's the craziest thing, because in the moment, I had no idea it was happening. It just felt like a breath of fresh air. It felt like if I'm responsible for this, then I can change it. That's what it felt like in the moment. But then all of a sudden I had friends calling me with relationship issues, and I was breathing the information as though it was my own. Information that I had been researching for hours and hours, books, seminars, programs. All of a sudden I could speak it, and I embodied it, and I knew it. And my friends were coming back to me like, what on earth? How do you know this stuff? I was like, everybody needs to know this stuff. This is crazy. So what I started doing is circular dating. And for those of you who don't know what circular dating is, it's basically when you decide that you're not going to just commit to one guy just to date. You are going to find the right guy by seeing other men and not just falling in love or becoming needy of the first guy you meet. I went on so many dates, feeling how I felt around men, testing how fast I needed to please, I wanted to please, testing how fast I fell under the lust. It was crazy what I found out about myself. But in that process, I did a lot more than just learn information. I embodied it. I started getting downloads of all kinds of concepts and thoughts to help me navigate myself through this. And I journaled like crazy. Every night I journaled. I got a yoga membership so I could go and shower, and I would sleep in my car in the parking lot. And next thing you know, I started attracting clients that wanted to pay me from the front seat of my car. And I was teaching them what I was doing that was working. The things that I was getting in my head, the thoughts I was having, I was doing them, I was teaching them. The things I would read, I would embody them, I would teach them. The things I would know from doing, I taught. And I promised myself I would never teach unless I had done what I was teaching. I wasn't going to just use someone's material and sell it. I was not going to do that. I needed to figure out what these people had figured out. I needed to go through it. So I went through months of researching, of dating, of questioning myself, of proving it, of showing up at a completely different level in the world as far as men are concerned. I changed everything I used to think about men. I realized I thought some pretty mean things. I changed my perspective of men, all men, not just the one I was interested in, all of them. I changed the way I was around men, and I decided I would either be the one or the one who got away. I would no longer chase the wrong guy. It was not going to happen to me anymore. I was going to take control, and I was going to be aware of how I am, who I am, how I feel around men, and how they feel around me. And then soon enough, relationships started to change all over the place. I healed the relationship with my family. I can't even believe now that there was ever any problem between me and my family. It's like a whole new human being emerged from this for me. And before I knew it, I was coaching people. And I created a really successful coaching business. And through what I've learned about men's behavior and women's behavior, I've become a relationship expert, not just in the men and women range, but also the woman to woman range. I fall in love with people every day. I create friendships with people I've never met before. And it is the most empowering thing in my life to be able to use that emotional intelligence for my own self and create the business I've created. So what I want to talk to you about today is a piece of what I discovered in my journey. Femme Fatale is like the satchel, the whole bag that I've got. Like, if I could tell you everything there is in that program, it's magical. But what I want to really hone into today is king and queen. When the king and queen creation is made, how that changes a human being. So I'm going to dive into that. I'm going to talk to you about that so you really get a feeling of what it feels like to get this kind of information and the shifts that start to occur. And then I'll explain, if you're interested for Femme Fatale, how you can join us for the January 24th round. So, here's one of the big things. Women have beliefs about men. I had beliefs about men. So if you want to do this with me, like grab a pen and paper and start writing, what do you believe about men? Give me some like characteristics that describes men. If you'd have asked me this 6 years ago, I would have told you men are pigs. I would have told you men are power hungry. I would have told you men are incapable of being loyal. I would have told you men are flaky, men are liars, men are two-faced, men are lazy. Because I remember picking up my ex's socks off the floor, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, doing the, because I was trying to be so nice. Men are lazy. Men are disorganized, childish, inconsiderate. Oh my gosh, inconsiderate, that's a good one. And then obviously there's good qualities, because then I'd think of people that I love and I'm like, okay, men are strong, you know, men are sexy, I guess, right? Right one, sexy. Men are powerful, but most of the things I would have told you were negative things. And it was crazy how fast those things would come through my mind whenever I would see a man doing one of the things that I defined as one of those bad things. Like, oh, look at that guy being a whatever it is. Like, if I saw a guy with his girlfriend checking out another girl, I was like, there's a go, another pig, right? Just showing me more of what I believe to be true. So what do you believe to be true about men? Just write a few things down. So because of these beliefs that we have about men, we see them in a certain light. And what happens is the way we see them tends to be this feeling of like annoyance. So you'll very often hear women to just be like, he's just so annoying. He gets on my nerves. The stereotypical thing is the guy's being the guy and the woman's like, ugh, she's annoyed. He's annoying. He's bugging her. He's pissing her off. That's the guy. Pisses me off. It's like in his way of being, he's being a little shit. And the way we see men is like, you could be so enlightened, you could be romantic, you could be so intelligent, you could be like, you know, the way, but instead you're being like this. And we tend to have this image of what the perfect man looks like. And we really believe we should have one of those, because obviously, like, we should have one of those. So whatever the perfect man image you have in your head, you have, like, that is usually what you're comparing your man to. This ideal man you wish you had. So when I was dating this other guy, I knew exactly the ideal man I wish I had. And I wished he was just a little bit taller also, because sometimes with my heels I was almost as tall as him. It would have been great if he was a little bit taller. But my ideal man also cooked me dinner. My ideal man would do his laundry, and maybe he would even do mine and not shrink it. My ideal man was like nice and sweet and considerate, and he would like listen to me and he would make me laugh. Like, this was my ideal man. This guy, every time he did something that wasn't in alignment with this ideal man, I was like, ugh. Because in my mind, I saw him and I saw potentiality. I saw everything he could be, and I was seeing who he was being, and who he was being was so far from who he could be that it bugged me about him. Why aren't you just the perfect version of you? Now, what I learned is that, in fact, women and men have a very different experience of life. Women are very, they like to be validated on an external point of view. Like, we love external validation. We love to be admired from the outside. We do a lot of what we do in order to fit in order to please, for other people to feel good. Like, that's important to us. Men, on the other hand, they have a very different internal system. They do it more for their own way. This is why, you'll say men are, oh, he's a man, he's doing it his way. Oh, well, of course you can't change his mind. He's a man. Because they have a way of deciding for themselves, like, this is my way and this is it. And I don't really care if it doesn't please you, because they would not stop loving us if we did not see eye to eye with them. So why would it matter if they don't do what we see as being eye to eye? Like, what does it matter? It shouldn't matter, right? So he lives his life based on what makes him happy. It's simple. He lives his life on what makes him feel good. He lives his life on what makes him feel strong. He makes his life based on what makes him feel safe. We don't do that. We build our life based on what looks good. And it feels good when it looks good. And when it looks great, it feels even better. And when other people approve of it and it looks good, oh my gosh. And we want people to feel good. And we want people to feel good while we look good. We want it to look good that we feel good. It's all about an external experience between people. So every time we look at him, be the man we wish he was, and he's not, we've got this immediate sense inside that he's doing it on purpose. Because if it were us, We would change. If it were me, I would want to be the best version. I would not want you to feel that I am annoying. I would change if it were me. I'm not asking you to do something like bad. I'm asking you to do something that's good for your own good. Like if I did something that bothered you and it was for my own good, I would care and I would listen. How many times have you ever said to a man, like, what if it were you? Like, let's just turn this around for a minute. What if it were you and I had done, and he's just sitting in front of you like, I don't think I would be mad. You're like, what? How? I'm livid. Why aren't you getting this? Doesn't get it. Like, I would not be upset if it were me. I don't know. It's like mind-boggling. We see his potentiality and everything he could be, and then we see who he's being, and it somehow feels like he's just being a little shit. When he could be fabulous, he's just choosing to be a little shit, and that's annoying. So I looked at the list I was trying to create for the man of my dreams, and what I realized is something very particular. What if the man of my dreams was also writing a list? Would I fit the criteria? I want him to be funny, lighthearted. I want him to be patient and kind. I want him to do my laundry if I don't have time to. I want him to support me in this and support me in that. What does it say on his list? And if I magically appear, do I fit the criteria? And what I realized is that, in fact, probably the ideal woman, as I would create her, obviously, I didn't tick all the boxes. At that point, was not emotionally intelligent. At that point, clearly didn't know what to do to make a man happy, because I had given everything I knew to give, and I still managed to have him cheat, lie, and in the end leave. I was definitely not laughing or smiling much. I didn't have a lot of friends. I wasn't in a good relationship with my family. Like, I was reading down the list, and I'm, not in a good financial situation, not knowing what my purpose is, not knowing, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm on this list, if he's trying to create a list, this single perfect guy that's on my list, I'm screwed. I don't fit any of the boxes. And I was like, how funny is that, though? That I've got this ideal man in my life, that any other normal guy who's trying to just love me will not be enough, because I've got this ideal guy in my head and I'm not doing anything to be this ideal woman. Isn't that weird? Isn't it weird that I beat myself up every day about what's not good enough for me, yet I still feel entitled to have the perfect guy? So I also decided that until I could be the perfect woman, I was no longer allowed to expect the perfect man. That instead, I was going to be curious about men. That I was actually going to pay attention and listen and not judge that they do it differently than me. Because what I realized is that my ideal version of a man was a version I invented in my own head. I didn't even know if that existed. The interactions I imagined would happen, they were in my own head. I didn't even know if that was possible. So before I made another guy not good enough for not fitting the criteria of this ideal man I put in my head, I thought it was maybe a good idea to go find out what men are really about, and what they actually need, and what they actually desire, and what they want. So I went on a quest to just care about men. Not just the men I was attracted to, all of them. I cared about the waiter who brought me my water. I said thank you, and I really said thank you. I cared about the old man who wanted to tell me the story that was way too long, that I usually would have been like, okay, yeah, thank you. I listened. I paid attention. And the weirdest thing happened, because Kevin is my fiancé, Kevin and I did not actually like each other the first time we met. He was my boss, his boss, like the boss of all of Canada for the company I was working for. And I actually really did not like him. And I remember after learning the information I'm going to talk to you about right now, when I walked into the building I knew he was going to be in after a couple of years of not seeing him and already cringing at the thought of seeing him, I put my hand on the doorknob and I had this feeling, this thought inside, like, you could respect him too. Not because I thought I was going to fall in love with him, just because I thought, why not? I haven't seen this guy in two years. Why am I going to walk in already being who I was? Like, just be who you're being everywhere else here. And the vibe between us shifted so quickly. We fell in love in days. It was hard for me to keep circular dating after I met Kevin. It just, every single buzz on my phone, I wished it was him. It was such an incredible experience to watch us shift like that. All it took was for me to decide to embody the things that I'm going to talk to you about right now. So, what is it that makes men feel good if it's not external validation? Oh, you're so funny, you're so smart, you do that so well, like, bleh, sure, but no. What is it? You've got to go play inside for them. It's not about how they look. Oh, you're so kind, you're so sweet. No. In order for a man to feel good, you got to be able to make him feel good where he gets validation, which is internal validation. The secret to a man completely falling head over heels in love is that he feels good about himself when you're around. Like, when you're around, he feels like Superman. That is the key to love. If you make your man feel like Superman, you will not have to worry about a thing. If you look at your man and you see Superman, you will never run out of love. The issue is very early in the game. We start to lose that little magic flame and we start to notice the things where he's not perfect. And we start responding to those things and pointing out those things. And not in a negative way, not to upset him, just to let him know, right, that he didn't used to be like that. He used to be a little bit more romantic. He used to do this, he used to do that. Why haven't you done this in so long? Why haven't you done that in so long? Why did you do that? Why did you say that? And every little thing chips away at his superhero costume. Every little thing he did not right, every little thing you noticed that wasn't right, every little thing chips away. Until it doesn't feel very good to be around us. And at that point, it is very hard for him to bounce back unless we dramatically change. The bottom line is, women want a man who's confident. We want a man who is confident. But for men, the key to confidence is they've got to feel safe in the environment they're in. There are men, they are so confident in one area, and then in another area of their life, it's like two completely different men. And you may be sitting there like, why do they do that? Well, let me ask you, have you noticed sometimes you go to work and a million things break down and you're over there like Martha Stewart fixing everything and no one even realizes you're stressed? But when you go home and your kids pick a fight with each other, you lose your ever-loving, like, you have zero self-control. And everyone at work would tell you, oh my gosh, you're so strong. How do you keep it all together? I would have had a breakdown. And you're like, I don't know, it's a gift. And the minute you walk home, your kids start freaking out and you're like, everybody shut up. Like, no self-control. Why? Why do you do it? Oh, I don't know. These are the moments where we expect him to be a superhuman when we don't even realize who we're being. So a big part of this alpha femme trifecta that I teach is about being the kind of woman who doesn't expect more from another person than she's able to create. My standards for myself are high, then I can have high standards for you. But if my standards for myself are low, I have the integrity not to ask that much of you. If I'm going to treat myself with low self-respect, not a lot of love, I'm going to break my promises to myself, and then I'm going to wonder why you're doing it to me. I'm going to be one person at work and one person at home and wonder why when we're out with friends you're so happy, but when we're alone you're stuck on your phone and you don't have time for me. I'm going to question that duality in you. Not as long as I have it in me. This program is about becoming a human being again. We've gotten so lost in equality that we've forgotten what unique and magic feels like. Men are unique and magic. Women are unique and magic. But every time we try to fit a woman in a man's box and a man in a woman's box, it doesn't work. We were made differently. We were made differently. That is a beautiful thing. But we weren't taught to navigate the difference. The way I experience emotion in my feminine brain and my feminine body and my feminine hormones is so different than the way he experiences emotion. But it's just as valid and it's just as okay. It isn't true that women experience emotion better than men do. It means that we understand our way better because it's our way. He has a way. And he has a way for a reason. So we are who we are for a reason. And you'll often justify your behavior by saying like, yes, but the reason I behaved like this is because. Yet when he has a good reason, we're unable to hear it. Either because we don't believe his reason is valid or because we just don't understand it. Either way, it's like my excuses matter, but yours don't. The reason I was late for work is because of this, but the reason you didn't take the trash out don't apply. The reason I canceled our date because I'm exhausted and I need rest is one thing. The reason you fell asleep on the couch and forgot to get ready for our date tonight and everything's ruined and you're the worst boyfriend in the world, those don't apply. We have a different way of interacting with men and it causes a constant breakdown. So what is the magic? The stronger he becomes, the safer he feels, and the happier he is, the more superhuman-like he becomes. I have women ask me this all the time. They're like, yeah, this is a great concept, but my guy was really great in the beginning. And then he just stopped. Yes. You were someone in the beginning. You don't even realize who you were in the beginning, but I will tell you what you felt like to him. In the beginning, you felt like magic. You felt like summer mornings. You felt like fires on an autumn evening. You felt like coffee in the morning and red wine at night. You felt like the perfect amount of dessert. You felt like home. You felt like magic. And then you lost it. You completely lost it. And you've been looking for him to come back with his superhero cape on. But you changed so much, he doesn't even know who to come back for. And it's the craziest thing when we take this level of self-responsibility. Like, this is big stuff. And I don't expect everybody to like what I'm saying. I'm going to be very honest. I didn't like it when I heard it. I was like, he did so many bad things. I was so nice. This is crap. But when I literally tried it on and said, okay, well, if it's true, then let me try it. I cannot tell you how the world started to respond to me. Not just men, women, like when I changed this way of being, it changed everything for me. And it's not about perfection, just so you know. I'm not saying you need to be perfect. What I'm saying is your humanity needs to return. Your way of seeing people and yourself needs to be shaken up because we spend all our time thinking about what more we need to do or be or have in order to be enough, and look outside of us at the people that we're supposed to love and look at how much they should be more and do more in order to be more loved by us. And no one gets a fair trial because they're being compared to a version that is so perfect. And it's like, when I hold you to that standard and I hold me to that standard, we're both miserable. Yet I keep holding us both to that standard. And the sad thing with women, and this is like the culminating point that blew my mind, the sad thing about women is when the man won't change, we imagine it's because he doesn't care about us. We think if he's not willing to change who he is and what he struggles with, if he's not willing to change that, it means that he doesn't care enough about us or he does not love us, which translates in our brain that we are not good enough. And we are walking around the world looking for people who will change for us so we can be worthy. Because when we feel worthy, we become magic again. The thing is, that magic that you believe is what makes you worthy, that is something that is generated artificially in the beginning of a relationship, and it is something that you are able to take control of if you decide to, and if you learn how. This is such an important part of Femme Fatale, is that magic, that little light, it's yours. And every time you feel you need to wait for him to turn that light on, every time you believe it's his fault your light is off, you are wasting precious time in your life. Years of bliss, of pleasure, of youth, punishing. Because when women feel like men are not being who they should be because they could be great, when the men are not being enough, because we feel insulted that they're not willing to do what it takes, because they don't care about us enough, we punish them. You know what I mean when I say that. Don't answer the calls. Don't answer the texts. Silent treatment. Go days without, posting great pictures on social media about how you're having a great life and you're fine. Canceling plans. Not going where you said you were going to do. Because we feel bitter. That we're not worthy of them changing for us. And it is the most warped vision of relationships. It is not real. And it is not the way men operate. So I want to invite you for this week to truly look at the men in your life and notice what you believe to be true and see if you can change it on the spot. Just see for 1 minute, what if I'm wrong? What if there's something that I don't know about men? What if? And even greater than that, if there's a man that can't change or won't change for you, it means nothing about you. If you've ever wanted to change snoozing in the morning, does it mean anything about your husband that you snooze? If you have tried to stop eating chocolate past midnight, and you do, does it mean anything about your husband? If you have promised yourself that you are going to remove your makeup before going to bed at night now because your skin is important and you don't, does that mean you don't care about your husband? We make things mean things. So an alpha femme is a woman who truly sees the world as it is and whose mission is to make it better. And we can only do that when we see the world as it is. When we see it only worse than it is and better as it is, we cannot fix it. We cannot bring a new energy to a world we do not understand. Femme Fatale is about bringing a new energy to a world that you do not understand yet. The information in this program saved my life. And because of this, I have grown a business that I am so in love with. I have never been happier in my business. I have never been happier in my relationship. I have never been happier. And it's successful, like it works. I just got engaged. My business just hit a freaking $1 million. I can't even believe it. Like that is not typical for me, my life, my family. Like nobody makes $1 million. I can't believe it because this was done through relationships. I built all of it through relationships with my clients, with my followers. This wasn't scaled with sales funnels and marketing lists, and it was just people. That's all it was, people. Emotional intelligence. This webinar that you're watching is actually a recording of the live one, because after I did yesterday's, I had to re-record another one. And I'm going to tell you, the person I was a few years ago would have had a nervous meltdown. And instead, yesterday, I sat down, I tried to do it, I checked my energy, I was like, no, I'm not in goddess mode, I'm in hustle mode. This is not good. I went to sleep. I woke up this morning, I checked my feelings, I was like, I'm so stressed about this. This is result-oriented, I will not be myself, I need to breathe. I went to get my hair done. I bought myself some flowers. I waited till I felt the flow, and I came back. This is what I know to be true. The world responds to me in my world. The world responds to you in your world, but the world responds to me in my world. If you've been saying there's something in your life you want to change, your relationship, your business, like you've been saying there's something you want to change, this may be a response to you, but in my world, things breaking down is a response to me. More clients or not more clients, that's a response to me. So it's my job to be sending out the right signal for people to respond to, for situations and circumstances to respond to. So this webinar is being done for the second time. Maybe that's exactly what needed to happen, who knows? This program is the kind of program that really gives you your power back, wherever you've given it away. Whether it's around money, around your mother, your sister, your ex-partner, someone who took your power when you were younger. This is the program where you get to reclaim it and walk back into your life like the freaking goddess that you are. I really believe there are three parts of us: the goddess, the badass, and the boss. The boss is the one that makes bank, the one that makes all the money. The badass is the one who's got discipline and integrity and who does what she's got to do. And the goddess, she's the one who runs the show. Her ability to feel and to really honor her feelings, her ability to be emotionally intelligent in situations where there's a breakdown, she makes it that the two other identities can function properly. When you want to charge for something and you're afraid of undercharging and you've got all these fears in it, goddess mode. When you're afraid of going live on Facebook because you're afraid of what people are going to feel about it, goddess mode. When you've got how to have a really difficult conversation with your man and you're terrified, goddess mode. When you've got to hire or fire someone, goddess mode. There's so much of our business that can be done with our emotions, our emotional intelligence. This is such an important part. And I will tell you, since I have got a man in my life that I love with all my heart and we understand each other, we get each other and we grow, I have never felt things to be simpler. It just feels like everything is at my fingertips. Where it felt like such a difficulty, like it felt like there was so much to do before, it just feels like I have a partner in crime, like I have a partner to do life with, and it feels so freeing. So this is the kind of thing that gives you freedom in your relationships so that you can have amazing relationships with the people you hire, the people on your team, your family, your friends, your partner, your clients. This is the magic. Now, on top of that, there's other topics in this program. We're going to talk about the duality of desires. Men and women have different desires, how to give him what he really wants and how to get what you really want. That's one of the topics. I also want to talk to you about world-class communication. There's one of the topics in my Femme Fatale program, like one of the calls where I teach you a communication technique that I have created that has, I cannot even tell you what it has done for me. It has saved, in relationships, it has saved me 1,000,000 times. But this one conversation has probably saved me $500,000 in my life. I have gotten more free things, discounts, service to die for from this communication thing that and I only teach it in Femme Fatale because you need the emotional intelligence to back the words or it doesn't work. This is the thing. It's not just about what we do, it's about who we are when we do it. It's not just about what we say, it's about who we are when we say it. So there are communication patterns that are extraordinarily important in relationships, in leadership, but if you don't have the emotional intelligence to back it, it doesn't work. So I'm going to teach you the most incredible communication on the planet. We also talk about compound leadership. And compound leadership is so important because as an alpha female, and I know that a lot of my clients are either already in a state where they are the alpha or they want to be more alpha, but either way, they want to be a leader and they also want to be in a relationship where their partner is a leader. And that, if you're both out of power, and it always starts with one changing, but if you're out of power, you start to butt heads with your partner. You butt heads with your partner because you're a leader and he's a leader, and when you don't know how to lead a leader, things break down. If you're a head of a network marketing company and you're having a hard time leading your leaders, this is going to change the game for you. If you're a coach and you keep attracting people who are just beginning in your business and you're like, why aren't I attracting higher level people? I wish I had people who had more money and more leadership and who'd done more in their life. Like, why am I just attracting? Because it takes a certain kind of leader to coach a leader. It's one thing to coach a follower or to lead a follower, but to lead a leader, emotional intelligence is so required. So you're gonna learn about that in the program. The science of love. It is a science. There is actually a science. The science of the magic of love. Why is it that in the first 3 months it feels like magic and then it goes away? Like, there's a science to butterflies. You're going to learn how to recreate it. The art of pleasure. Being in your life the kind of person who creates bliss and then attracts bliss based on the bliss you create. The art of pleasure. Femme Fatale is the most epic program for you to understand your body and how to call in more magic from it and its pleasure of life. Radical magnetism and the law of attraction. So you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. Always. So in Femme Fatale, you really learn to magnetize what you want by being who you want to be. And you're really going to learn a lot of law of attraction stuff. The women in my program, it blows my mind because the women in my program, some of them haven't even taken my business courses yet, and they're like posting about they just started their business, they've got more money coming in, they've manifested this, they've manifested that, left and right, they're manifesting because who they're being is pulling in. Their pleasure is pulling in, their mind is pulling in, their heart is pulling in. We're opening everything that usually blocks off energetic flow, and we're opening it. So just in Femme Fatale, I've had women unblock things that makes them so abundant and is unbelievable. And the before and after pictures, Femme Fatale has been open for a year now. And I have women who have posted before and after pictures of what they look like before Femme Fatale and now. And they have lost 10 years. What it does for a woman to be in this energy is magic. It's like, honestly, it is the fountain of youth. Pleasure, joy. The knowledge in this program has given me my life back. I feel younger now than I did when I was going through everything I went through. I was 25, I thought I was old and my life was over. And I'm 31 and I feel like I could take over the freaking world. I feel younger, more vibrant and happier. And the women in my program say the same. It's just magic. Relationships rekindling, marriages that were on the edge of breaking that just completely turned around. It's like, there's so much magic. And other times it's women who just didn't have the power to leave, although they knew the guy was the wrong guy. So afraid they would not meet another one that they stayed, and then they got the courage to go. And then brought in a new man, the one they wanted, an incredible relationship. We've got so many incredible relationships being created in Femme Fatale. For other women, it's the ones that always had a rebound. You know, the minute you break up, you've got a rebound. The minute you break up, you've got a rebound. You never give yourself that time to really create who you want to be between relationships. For some reason, for some women, that's been the journey. Being in so they can recreate themselves before their next relationship. For some women, it's been having a space to recreate themselves while they're in the relationship they're in. Like, I don't need to be single to recreate myself. If I've got this tribe, I can start over. And that is what so many of the women have done. We have had so many incredible life-changing stories in this program. So what I'm offering right now is this whole program in a container that's live with me. So you don't get automated videos that you've got to watch. Like, you come into this tribe and I am live with you in the group. Everything happens live with a recording. So if you can't make it live, you get to watch the recording, but there's an energy in this group. You get to share about what you're going through. You get to post. You get to interact as much or as little as you want. This is your journey. This is the journey of the goddess. What's incredible with this program is it's not just information. The transformation available in this program is incredible. It's hands-on work. I'm going to have you go take what you learn and do it in your life and come back. And I'll be there to support you, and you come back and celebrate you for your accomplishments and really watch things change. This isn't a program you need to take if there's something wrong. I just wish I'd always known this information. And when I run it, women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they all tell me the same thing. Why on earth have I not known this before? If nothing is breaking down in your life, fabulous. Come in to elevate. If things are rough right now and you're feeling lost, come plug into the energy. It is honestly the most beautiful space I've created. I love it so much, and this program means the world to me. It is my extension from my heart to yours. The information in this program is why I am who I am. It's how I was able to grow a business without needing any funnels, external support. I honestly haven't even been selling for the last 6 months of my business. People just pour into my inbox. Like, okay, I'm ready. And when I say I've not been selling, I mean, I'll do a webinar, I'll do a Facebook Live, but I don't need to get on a sales call. I don't need to close anybody. It's just like, I'm in. And it's the most freeing, liberating, exciting, freeing way of doing business. And I love it. Because life isn't about what you do. It's about who you are when you do it. And the saddest thing that I realized with the information here is we were not taught when it mattered. We never had a transition. Like you're a little girl and then all of a sudden you're a woman, and no one teaches you how to navigate that. There's no explanation of how things are going to change, how your emotions are going to change, how your body's going to change. There's no explanation. This is like a rite of passage. It's like a permission to walk into your womanhood and to really be able to coexist with women in the most beautiful place, in the most beautiful way. Some of the friendships that have been created in this program, I'm blown away by. Women flying to each other to go meet each other. I've never seen sisterhood like this and anything else that I've ever seen. Never mind anything I've ever done, anything I've ever seen. This program is beautiful for that. It's finding what we were actually meant to be, which is just free. We're just free. And untangling the beliefs that we got along the way that don't serve us and don't make any sense at all. So this starts on January 24th. It ends on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is the date that I launched the first ever Femme Fatale last year. So it will be the 1-year anniversary. We're going to have an amazing celebration party for that day, a beautiful closing ceremony. But during the 24th to the 14th, there's going to be a live training in this closed Facebook group every 2 to 3 days. The schedule will be all set for you when I open the doors on the 24th. And you're going to have some time between each session to integrate, to try the things. If you miss one, to watch the replay. So it's kind of flexible. It's not like you've got to do it every day. It's not like you've got to do it every day. You just get to experience it the way you want to experience it. And you've got space to come and actually be and do the program. So I'm live in it. It's from the 24th to the 14th, a call every 2 to 3 days, and the celebration call that is going to be on Valentine's Day. The price of the program is $999. If you're able to make the payment in full, we can get you in for this round on the 24th. I can also do a 2-pay if that helps. So you reach out to me if you need the 2-pay. If you need a longer payment plan, there will be another round where I'm already taking payment plans for the May round. So we've got already the most incredible women signed up for this. It's going to be incredible. We're going through the finish line now. There's a few days left. You could really reshape your life before Valentine's Day even happens. It's like a gift of self-love for yourself, that you get to start your year in such a different way. And I'd love to have you in the program if it feels right, whether it's for this round or for the next round. So if this feels right to you, if you've listened to me speak in here and there's a pull in your heart, then reach out to me. I'd love to have you in the program. Together we rise, all of us together. And that's what this journey is about for me. Yes, sales, marketing, logos, those things all matter, but at the bottom line of it is the difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't is who they're being towards themselves. First of all, like the relationship with yourself and your relationship with money and your relationship with people and your relationship with the world. It's a relationship game. Relationships are the new currency in business. If you do not understand relationships, there's a lot more than just your relationship breaking down. So I'd love to have you. If this is not the right fit for you, I'm just glad you watched this webinar, and I really hope that you walk away with the 2 things I had intended for you to walk away with. Number one, I hope you got value. I hope you walk away thinking, you know what, I want to see life differently a little bit. I want to change the way I relate to men, the way I think about men, the way I judge them. This perfect thing they're supposed to be. I hope you see it in a different light. And the second thing that you know about Femme Fatale, whether for you, for a friend, for this round, or for the next, that was my intention. So once you close this video, you're going to be going back to your real life with all the crazies, or maybe it's bedtime. I wish you the most beautiful day. I'm sending you loads of love, magic, miracles, and goddess vibes. And just send me a personal message in my inbox if you want to join so I can hook you up with a link. Thank you for watching. Bye.